Yeah, I'm a CPA, I keep it precise. I watch the details before they turn to ice. When the notice lands, there's no time to fake. You need your records in the right place. I've seen good people caught off guard. A missing folder can make it hard. So I'm building tools with a simple aim. Help you stand ready when they call your name. Not fear, not panic, just clean and clear. A better plan before they get near. Not luck, not guessing, not hope and prayer. If they come knocking, you're already there. Be ready, be ready, be ready today. Strong on the facts when they look your way. Be ready, keep your proof in line. Sophisticated and prepared at the same time. For taxpayers, pros, and the teams in between, the calm process beats a messy scene. Track the documents, flag the gaps, build a habit that removes the traps. Because challenge days do not wait around, and stress gets loud when the stakes come down. I want tools that make the hard part small so you can answer, not scramble at all. Not fear, not panic, just clean and clear. A better plan before they get near. Not luck, not guess, not hope and prayer. If they come knocking, you're already there. Be ready, be ready, be ready today. Strong on the facts when they look your way. Be ready, keep your proof in line. Sophisticated and prepared at the same time. This is about readiness, not waiting too late. About building strength before the first date. A system you trust, a trail you can show. So when questions come, you already know. Be ready today. Strong on the facts when they look your way. Be ready, keep your proof in line. Sophisticated and prepared at the same time. Be ready, be ready today. Strong on the facts when they look your way. Be ready, keep your proof in line. Sophisticated and prepared at the same time. Be ready today. Strong on the facts when they look your way. Be ready, keep your proof in line. Sophisticated and prepared at the same time.
All right. Keep it going, but I'm going to turn it down a little bit here.
Counting risk before it's in. Books get loud, claims get thin. One small gap in trouble spins.
All right. Let's see if I can make sure that this doesn't overlap. All right, cool. All right. Welcome. If it's your first time on the stream, if first time seeing me, welcome. I'm Tim Whitenberg. I'm a CPA. I do catch-up tax compliance. So I help clients who haven't filed their tax returns in a while prepare their documents in a very clean and accurate way so that we can file their tax returns, and then they can start to resolve their tax controversy. I also have oftentimes those same clients become clients that want to just keep in compliance and want to make sure that they are fully defended if anything comes back up, right? So that's one set of the practice. And then sometimes those clients become planners. And sometimes clients also end up in the planning stage because they came from another channel, another method, another place. So that's kind of an understanding, a background of what I'm doing here today, what I'm showing you. The goal of this quick planning session, I'm going to go for probably 20-ish, 30 minutes, is to, you know, this is the kind of work that I do to make sure that I'm staying on the cutting edge of making sure my clients get the highest level, right? This is the work that I do to ensure my clients are ready for an audit is far beyond what I would say. I'm biased, right? Far beyond what another preparer would do, let alone what a software provider is doing. Maybe they have developers that are looking into these issues, but the fact that now you have Claude Code and AI tools to enable these hands, right? That's the direction I take. And you may be asking yourself, are you a developer? Are you a coder? Did you have history? Well, to give you a quick, brief history, I started at a Big Four adjacent firm and did tax services there, variety of different tax services. I did individual, business, small business, corporate, partnership, multi-state, kind of cross the band, the entire area landscape of tax. Did some trust work, but it's not my strongest area. So here I am with that experience. Then I went to a Fortune 150 company and started rounding out my accounting side of my kind of accounting and tax skills. And there, at the tail end of my tax experience, I was wanting to automate. I was wanting to take these very unique artifacts that we created for work paper artifacts that we created for our clients and make them more automated, make them more consistent, make them produce the same thing each time. How can I use this work paper for a very specific and unique fact pattern to tell the story for this other fact pattern, for this other area? The challenge with a national, international firm is some of your clients are paying you a very high premium because it's such a niche item. It's such a unique fact pattern that you maybe don't need to build a blanket work paper that helps so many, because in your office you might only get one. Now you want to be able to roll that work paper over and create consistency year over year and the same narrative across multiple years in your filings is important. But it wasn't something we could really build for because we needed to move on to the next client. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to go into something that was more regular. In terms of the Fortune 150 company and how the Fortune 150 company and how I was doing accounting. In corporations, if you haven't had any experience in corporations, a lot of the experience is in back office work is spreadsheets, is Excel. And so they had a host of different Excel schedules that they were using to do the work. And I'm gonna cut this down a little bit. Sorry, I gotta cut my audio a little lower. Okay. I'm like losing my mind. Okay, there we go. So maybe you can hear it. Maybe you'll hate this. I don't know. Give me feedback in the comments if you hate the music, if anybody's watching. Okay. So Fortune 150 company, they have a bunch of spreadsheets, and so spreadsheets are great. They're malleable. They're very flexible in the sense that they're quick. They can deliver what you need, and you can analyze things, and then you can carry it over. You can roll it forward. You can do version control, and that you kind of just version control would be, okay, maybe you have a monthly report, monthly schedule. You save you do all your work, then you save that as that month, and then when you do the next month, you save a copy as the next month, right? And then you start doing your work in that one. So then you have this version controlled situation. So anyways, learned all these kind of process best practices and expectations of like what an auditor, internal auditor or IT auditor or our external auditors or our internal stakeholders, all their needs and what they're looking for. And so when I moved through and got promoted in the Fortune 150 company, right, I moved my way up to upper middle management, right? So at that point, I had, by the end of my time there, I had started bringing in other technologies like Alteryx, which is essentially kind of like an N8N, if you're familiar. It makes it so that you could take multiple inputs. So we had multiple databases of, timesheets are recorded in this software, and then our corporate books are recorded in this software. And then we needed to merge them together to make sure that we're both telling the same story. And that was my job to reconcile that on a monthly basis. Now, as you can imagine, that's a very difficult task. If you've ever merged two databases, you know that they have different schemas. So then you need to, and the schema is essentially, okay, so let's say time cost is labeled one way in one database in one software, and then the only thing you'll see in a general ledger or in a corporate books perspective, you're not going to see time, you're going to see cost. And so then you need to smooth how those two are being presented and make sure they're saying the same thing. And so then you needed to bring those together, and then you can start calculating things, and then you can export it into an Excel, which is a format that the vast landscape would understand and know how to manipulate and know how to get the answers or navigate to the answers that they wanted to find. So that's kind of a background on, am I a programmer or not? I see that experience as I did a very deep, I'm probably one of the more expert Excel users by the time I stopped using Excel. Nested if functions, getting everything into a database format where you're pivoting on it. I didn't do Power BI because I just couldn't find the use case in my situation. But that's how we got here, right? So now in my firm, I told you where I take clients from out of compliance into compliance, and then current compliance into planning. When I talk to attorneys that I work with, the question is, like, if you're designing something, can you design this for me? Because this is what I see. And so I basically take the problem statements and I'm trying to design software to improve my tax practice. And then also, maybe it becomes something that's useful for others. But at the end of the day, the driving understanding is that I'm trying to protect taxpayers. I think there's a lot of taxpayers that end up seeing tax and accounting as this opportunity to save. And I don't know that my situation is so complex that I need to pay a professional, or I need to get this business profitable. It's just a concept. I need to get it profitable, and then I'll spend on it. And then, for example, there was a situation I just heard about yesterday. He started with a food truck. It was high demand. It went really well. And then now he has 4 restaurants. He's getting audited, and he, what is he? He, when asked about to give his cost of goods sold number and receipts, he hasn't been tracking cost of goods sold. He's been filing his, come to find out, he's been filing his tax returns with over the phone verbalized amounts of what his cost of goods sold are. If none of this makes sense to you, just give me a call. That's already, stop watching, just call me and let's figure out your situation. But at the end of the day, if you understand what cost of goods sold are, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve, right? People are putting themselves in, they feel like, oh, I can do it myself, so I will do it myself, and then they're doing it themselves wrong. I had another client where it's something that you think is simple, it has ended up turning into a problem. She went to file an LLC on her own. She filed an EIN first, and even did the EIN, set it up as a multi-member EIN. So now she has to, now the IRS is expecting a partnership when she's a single member, when she was anticipating creating a single member LLC. Let alone she should have gone to the state to file first, and then this is not legal for tax advice. This is for educational purposes only. But my point is, even on the things that could be considered common sense or simple, or you can go on AI and get a filing path, errors happen. And that's just a fact of the experience I've had in my practice. I've seen it over and over. And so how do I make tools to make it cost effective, but also protect taxpayers from the IRS and from themselves? So in my tax practice, the goal is to protect clients from themselves by taking it out of their hands, interpreting what is needed, and then filing accordingly. But if you're talking about people I don't come in contact with, it's how can I create a tool to help a bigger audience be that prepared. And so here's what we're going to be talking about here for the next maybe 10 minutes or so. So now you have a background about me. If you came here to watch planning, now you can probably skip to, you're at the place. All right, anyways, here we go. So that was my premise, right? I'm a CPA building software. So I use Perplexity in this, and if you're wondering what this is Perplexity. In this situation, I have, okay, so that's wonderfully useless. It was just working. That's, you gotta love technology, right? Oh man, let's try this again. Let's refresh it, see if it was just a quirk. Okay, so then we're just gonna have to do this part later. I'll give you a brief on it. So the vision is I have built Wage Defender, which helps you with reasonable compensation reporting. I'll give you a preview of what Wage Defender looks like. So if I sign out of here, you can see, okay, this is the home page. It's kind of the marketing pitch, right? So stop guessing on your S Corp salary. Start computing it. So my plan and my goal, my vision for Wage Defender was, let's do reasonable compensation. Let's learn every ounce and every aspect of reasonable compensation, and then let's build the tool that writes a report for us and creates a range for the taxpayer or a professional to select a number in that range and have a defensive position for it, rather than there have been other calculators out there used by some of the payroll companies to show a quote reasonable compensation number, but at the end of the day, it's not. The IRS has clearly stated that a calculator is not support. So we took what the examiner would be doing as the premise for a report. So Wage Defender prepares the report before the audit. So if an examiner ever questions reasonable compensation, you could provide this, and then they could follow the same steps or create their own steps and come to the conclusion that you filed a correct reasonable compensation amount. And so that's the goal, right? Just avoid the headache of, now you still might have a legal defense if you don't want, I mean, if an examiner wants to be wants to drill down even harder into something and wants to challenge something, you might still need to take this to an attorney and say, hey, I don't know what they're saying. This is what I did. It was reasonable. We documented it, and but there. So that could happen, right? There's no bulletproof aspect of anything you do, but the goal in an examination is any question that the examiner asks, which they can ask anything on that tax return, anything that's supporting that they flag for the investigation, they can ask for documentation to support it. So that's what we're trying to do here, and this is just one aspect. And so you take this and you say, okay, well, in the future, legal and CPA could cost me $7,500. And how much am I underpaying myself? And so that's how much you can see how much, underestimating, doing your reasonable compensation, it can cost you quite a pretty penny. Especially if you're a professional, right? If you're someone who's earning a lot, you have a business that's established, it's been doing well for a long time, and you've put yourself at risk by taking a low salary. The kind of landmark case in paying yourself too little and being challenged for reasonable compensation is 2012 Watson case. where Watson was paying himself 24,000 thereabout, and distributing over 203,000. Right, so he had the ability to pay more salary, but decided not to. He was doing that. They assessed him for 4 years, up to 83,000. The adjustment to 83,000. So then we're talking about, and he was denied by the Supreme Court to be heard. So then we're talking about 60,000. And you can imagine, like, 7,500, if he's even filing to go to the Supreme Court, he's really taking a strong stance, and he's probably talking about a higher level of, so, you know, over 2.5 years, we're talking about 1,800. You could probably double that. You know, accuracy related penalty is potential, right? I don't think that was part of the fact pattern. Then you're also talking about back, and there's the back taxes, and then there's the penalty plus that plus, and then plus your any defense fees you pay to an attorney. Maybe he didn't pay an attorney, but because he was a CPA, but that I don't think that's a reasonable position to take. Is it worth it? Right? I think Wage Defender, our math is, we sell the report to consumers for $297 per year. I mean, it's a good piece to have in your arsenal. And if you work with a CPA, they should have a reasonable compensation report to really solidify. I mean, a lot of CPAs, I think we've been trained to be, oh, this is a low risk area. This is an area that isn't going to be challenged. Well, okay, so maybe it's not challenged a lot, but if there's an inconsistency on schedules, on a schedule that they're really looking at, maybe they look at reasonable compensation, maybe they don't. Maybe they drill into a different deduction, and just in general, you're starting at $2 million and you're ending up at $50,000 of profit. And so that's what they're really looking at. Like, how is that possible? And you're doing that year over year, right? If they're drilling in for that, and then they find that one deduction is off, and when they asked for the support for it, you didn't have it, they could bring that search even further. And so then they can end up at reasonable compensation. So it's one piece of the pie. And so as I continue to build, you know, my software suite, the tools that I want to use, because there's a bunch of vendors out there trying to solve specific problems. The tools I want to use, I can now build them myself. And so this is kind of my first step in doing that. Similar to how I did Wage Defender. The first step for me is, let's plan it out. What are all the surfaces? What are all the areas? And so when this was working, which I had just read it before starting the stream, I was happy with it, but there was more needed, right? I mean, if we look at the general summary here, I took the fact pattern of a married filing jointly barber has taken. So this is trying to be one of the more layperson examples, but also putting some higher risk areas involved in there, like the earned income tax credit, or the earned income credit, which is a higher risk because it is refundable. So is ACTC, additional child care tax credit. Those two are higher risk, so you want good documentation around them. So, you know, this is kind of trying to plan it out. What are all the surfaces we need? My goal is to create the document that a taxpayer can defend on their own, but also that's unrealistic. So if you're trying to defend on your own, it's good luck. It's not easy, because the IRS is a finicky organization. But let's say you have an attorney and you provide this, and your bill is going to be a lot less because they have the tools. They can spend a lot less time. They can just negotiate on your behalf, right? They could take their tools of the trade and defend you. You know, you've set yourself up. So that's the goal, is to create documents that are that good. But maybe, right? At the end of the day, none of this means that you're really audit proof, because what we try to do is just anticipate. This is what the examiner would look at. So this is what we're going to prepare for. That doesn't mean they might find some edge case or challenge your assumptions, in which case you need to support your assumptions, and we should have already supported the assumptions. But you know, that's the goal, is do what an examiner would do. And so the next directive after reading it was essentially, okay, let's expand it in a big way. And so these were just some of the additional areas that it had dialed into. So we've got 100% business use proof of a vehicle, general mixed use assets. So, you know, computers, phones, internet, utilities. If you have a home office attachments. So a home office is a red flag area. How do we prove your deductions in the strongest way possible? And mind you, I already try to do this in my practice, but I'm software limited. The software only goes so far, right? In most software, it's client portals, and it's limited to what you ask for. And so I want a software that's going to aid the practitioner in not just being a coach or a side, a second opinion, but also use the highest levels of technology to explain things, to document things, and so that's kind of the goal here. So, this is my planning phase right now. This is a little bit about me and how I work. And at this point, I'm going to end the stream. But if you came to visit, if you're seeing this video after, if you have any questions, you can go to asktimtax.com and just use the free strategy call. You'll go to an AI, they'll talk to you, they'll ask about your situation, and then it'll feed back to me, and I'll read it, and we'll get on a strategy call. I think that protects both of our time and ensures that you get the highest level of my time, the highest level service for my time. So I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.